Andor Season 2, Episodes 7 through 9. I would sit here with my mouth just gaped open for 30 seconds if this wasn't a YouTube video you would click off of. It was like the best Star Wars I've ever seen. Definitely for television. Definitely as far as like quality of writing and everything else. Maybe not like taking nostalgia away. It's probably the best. Let's talk about it. Episode 7, we start at our Yavin base. Yavin 4, the rebel base. I could have stayed there just the rest of the episode and watched them unpack crates and build barracks and stuff like that. It was so exciting to see. I could have cried. I could feel like a little, not that I was going to cry, a little emotional there seeing that. That brought a huge smile to my face. I like the time jumps. I don't like the time jumps. I don't think we need everything explained, but since I love Star Wars so much, I want to see every second. So seeing Cassian, he has a blaster burn. They don't tell us why or how, he's just injured. There's obviously been some sort of, the rift with him and Luthen continues. We don't see anything else there. I mean, not that we need it for the story. I just want to see it because I'm invested. I'm so highly invested that I want to see every second of it. Cassian has joined General Draven and Dodonna's team there in Yavin, and he's separated himself a bit from Luthen, and Gorman comes back. He's back from the Saw Gerrera craziness. I was wrong about him. I thought we would see a year jump and he's like full-on partisan. That's not happening at all. He seems more level-headed, but he's definitely bought in at Gorman too. The Force healer at Yavin, I thought that was cool. We haven't seen a whole lot of that, if at all, in Andor, the idea of the Force and Jedi or anything like that. But to see her, immediately we know, right? Or I assume you guys knew that she was a Force healer because she was over somebody else. And she tells Cassian that he's a messenger. And, that's it's very true. Cassian has touched a lot of people and brought a lot of things from people he's interacted, that we've seen over the series, that he's interacted with him in different points. Woman and Cassian take off. Editing Randall here. For fuck's sake, Randall, his name is Wilmon. Pronounce it Wilmon. Draven says to Cassian that's not like, there's too much going on here, there's too much secrecy, you can't just leave on your own. And Cassian says, if I can't, then I'm not coming back type deal, like Cassian kind of does his own thing still. So they go to Gorman, where we meet up with Cyril, and man, Cyril's something else, isn't he? He's kind of a mess. Cyril's whole life, he seems to have been fighting for something that is more in his head that's in reality. That sucks. So Cassian is setting up, and they're gonna, between him and Wilmon, they're gonna try to kill Dedra, which I kind of thought was gonna happen. I don't know why. Like, part of me thought it was, part of me knew it wasn't, just from trailers. But they're, and I might combine all this into one big story. I'm not gonna really necessarily stop at, no, this is into episode 8 or whatever. So Cassian is in Gorman, and he's planning to assassinate Dedra. Dedra's talking to Major Partagas and trying to, it seems like she wants to move away from the original plan. The Empire is full force. We could do what we need to do. The people of Gorman don't matter. The planet of Gorman don't matter. What matters is what's in the ground. Seeing the hotel clerk, he remembers Cassian from a year ago, or Cassian has been back and forth to Gorman, and they've established something. Like, Cassian has pulled him in. Because we've seen that with Cassian. That's part of what the Force healer says, that he has this ability to bring people in. So we see Rylans. Rylans was the leader of the Gorman Front. Don't know if he is now anymore. Doesn't seem like it. But him and Cyril get into it, and Cyril throws him to the ground. And we see how that ends. The Empire has reopened the plaza. They move all the barricades to fortify the building that they were occupying. And people start coming to the plaza, and we see that the Gorman front people are armed. They have guns, they have Molotov cocktails. Where you see that when the communication that we're getting, we're seeing Partagaz and Dedra talk, and then things are being said, and the reporters on the ground are basically repeating what Partagaz says almost word for word. Like, that's chilling. Like, some of this stuff really reminded me of right after September 11th, where we had the threat levels, and they were they were color coded. It could be a green day or it's an orange day. It's like they always kept you in this state of, it's not really kind of fear. So yeah, like you could feel the tension. You could feel the anxiety watching the episode on the screen. And it was just like the Empire just was looking for a reason. But, you know, they're basically boxing in the Gorman people. And Cyril is out there, and Cyril can feel it and works his way into the building and gets set off in a room with all the KX droids. And there's the one droid who's just staring off dead ass at Cyril. And I know I haven't really spoken much on, and I will get to this in later videos, the characters that I love. K2SO is one of my favorite characters. I do drive a Nissan Rogue, which I call Rogue One. There's a K2SO Funko Pop hanging from the mirror, and I was like, oh, there's my boy. But to see then Cyril finally like works his way out of there and meets up with Dedra, and he knows what's going on. And to see wimpy ass Cyril, who couldn't even handle Dedra and his mom talking, grab Dedra by the throat like that. And we've seen how strong Dedra has been. And she was like, you know, that was powerful, like, not powerful, like, inspirational, but powerfully chilling, you know, to see that. His whole world comes crashing down. And he knows it. But Dedra still, you know, despite him strangling her, she tries to get him out of the square. You know, she orders that they remove Cyril from the square. It's too late, they can't do that. And then the Gorman people start chanting their, I'm going to say it's their national anthem, but like it's like a freedom song. Empire's gonna empire, and they shoot their own guy and pop off a massacre. It was intense. Every minute of it was intense. I mean, the only person you know who's going to survive was Cassian. But there's the intensity of, do you think Cassian's going to actually be able to pull off the shot and kill Dedra? And finally, throughout all the chaos, we see a bunch of the Gorman people we know and recognize they're being murdered, because that's what it is. The KX droids enter the fight, and they're basically Terminators. Enza gets smacked by the K2 droid and goes flying through the air and cracks her head on the concrete. I'm like, oh, that was one of those brutal deaths of Star Wars. That one hit me, I don't know why. Cyril sees Cassian. Pretty brutal fight between the two of them. I mean, it was pretty awesome. Both actors, like, just getting into like the acting, both actors did a great job there during that fight. It was very real, felt very, very like, and sometimes they fight, you can tell they're fighting, and sometimes they're fighting like when they're going for their mouths. I think that's weird. That's like it's like unsettling. Cyril ends up with the blaster in hand, and he's about to shoot Cassian. And Cassian looks at him and he's like, "Who are you?" You know, and it's like Cassian Andor has affected Cyril's life so greatly. I mean, he's the only reason really why Cyril's in this position. So Cassian and Cyril are in this weird yin-yang thing where, but the yin to the yang is that Cassian has no idea who Cyril is. And Cyril has allowed Cassian to affect his life. Yo, editing Randall here. This whole thing is the axe forgets, but the tree remembers. So greatly that when Cassian says, "Who are you?" Cyril can't pull the trigger, or at least in that moment, he has enough time to pause. And it's enough time for Rylance to shoot Cyril dead. Gorman and Cassian trying to escape, and I think the kid's name is Sam, who crashes. They're being hunted by basically K2SO, and Sam crashes the troop transport into the wall and just chops K2 in half. And at that moment, Cassian has the wherewithal to say, let's do me one more favor. They're taking the droid. The final episode is Mon Mothma's speech, which we see part of in Rebels, and we see here. They're not the same, but, the writing in Andor is the best writing we've seen in Star Wars. I could see why they're not like, well, she's just going to tell the same speech, and I'm going to probably say, in a cartoon. I would rather see real life, well-written. Luthen comes to Mon to tell her, she has someone to get her out. She doesn't trust her because she's like, you remember my friend Tay? The one that we killed? But you can't blame her. Erskine really has his moments in this episode. I think that dude's badass. I'd love to see more of him, but, where would he pop up? He was that quick scene in Rebels that he is actually in, if you don't know that. If you watch this all again, after this episode, watch season 3, episode 18, Secret Cargo. You'll see the guy in the background, that's Erskine, who's with Mon Mothma, and the Rebels team basically saves Mon Mothma. Mon Mothma gives the speech to the Rebel Alliance. That's the speech they're referring to towards the end of the show, and brings the Rebel Alliance together. But let's back up. Mon Mothma delivers that great speech, and it's as powerful now as ever. Star Wars has always been political. George Lucas wrote the Empire as basically the ideas of fascist Germany, the British Empire when the United States won its independence, and then the United States fighting in Vietnam. So it's always been political. But hearing Mon Mothma's speech now and how it has to do with truth and things like Fox News and social media, there's a lot of that there. It is very fitting for the time now. This is Star Wars for where it fits now. And we see that. And I think as humans, sometimes there's too much we want to get away and hide our head in the sand instead of looking at things for what they are and what they mean. These are lessons that we need to keep with us. She gives her speech. Bail Organa's team is compromised, and they said that she was part of Young's team, which Lonnie Young is the spy Luthen has inside of the ISB. So we knew that. So that's how we know that Luthen knows that Bail's team's compromised. So Lonnie pays off again. Lonnie's paid off pretty great in this series. I like him. He's one of my favorites in the series. I always find these side characters who, have smaller roles who are like, oh, I love that dude, or I love that lady, or I love that droid, or I love that little creature. Seeing them exit out of the Senate, Cassian shoots Corvus, who's the driver, back to Yavin in Bix sleeves. And I think that's the right move for her. I thought she'd have some, if you watch the first video I made, I thought she'd have some great go out in a blaze of glory type ending. I didn't think that she'd just walk away. But as we know, from the Force Healer, how Cassian has a solar system. He pulls people in. He's gravity. And the people that need to step out. The people that need to stay are the lessons or even the people who leave are part of the lessons that he needs to keep on doing this mission that we know what his purpose is. That brings us to the Frankenstein moment bringing K2SO back. Loved it. I loved his line about, basically get the gun out of my face. Melshi has joined the Rebel Alliance on his own. So that means we know that 10, 11, 12, we have to get into some stuff, right? We have to get into, like, why are kyber crystals being moved across the galaxy? Melshi and K2SO need to leave to go find Jyn Erso. And Cassian needs to be headed towards the Ring of Catherine. Amazing, amazing episodes. So, thank you guys for watching. I'll have more coming this week. I want to talk about Mon Mothma, the Gorman massacre on their own. I have a couple other videos to do in Tales of the Underworld. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you. Always.